begin.
Welcome to the WiseTake DFS podcast, sponsored by the hottest team in the DFS industry, Daily Roto Sharks. If you want to be prepared for your DFS slates every night, you need to join the hashtag Sheet Squad movement. Just click on the link in the description. I am your host, CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I'm joined yet again by Daily Roto Sharks contributors and WiseTake regulars. Matt Amon, you can find him on Twitter at MattAmon123. And of course, Steve Hillman, better known as Fuego Steve. You can find him on Twitter at Fuego_Steve. Gentlemen, how we doing tonight?
We're doing good. I think we both have sweats that we're currently watching right now. So it looks like the Francisco Liriano melting down train might be beginning. So we're going to be bracing ourselves during this pod.
Matt, why don't you start off first and tell us what we're sweating, and then Fuego, I want to go over what you're sweating.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sweating your standard regular tournaments. I have a bunch of Brewers, Diamondbacks combo stacks that are kind of getting going, and I have some Diamondbacks Cubs stacks that are looking decent. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm rooting for yet, but I'll let you know as we go along.
But you're still alive. All right.
Yep.
All right, Fuego. What about you? Now, I think you have like you're coming down to the wire. I think you're up top. I know you just got a big grand slam. What's going on?
Yeah, so I'm trying to win me a ticket to one of those $700 qualifiers for the DraftKings Live Finals. They're running a lot of these $700 and $900 queues, and they're running a lot of these satellites to get into them if you can't afford the $700 and $900, which a lot of us can't. I'm wondering if they're even going to run small dollar ones. But anyway, so I'm in a satellite. I'm in first. Had, like you said, home run by grand slam by Owings, and I still have some Arizona bats, and my pitcher's getting rocked right now, so I'm dropping. So we'll see.
Man.
I got a decent lead, so we'll see what happens.
You both got Liriano or what?
Yeah, and they're really squeezing him. I'm watching this game, and they're really, the strike zone is way too tight. We're in trouble.
He's got a hard time throwing strikes as it is.
Well, if they take him out now, at least he won't get a -15 or a -30.
That might be good enough on this slate.
Guys, we gotta have faith, man. We gotta have faith. He'll get out of this. We gotta have some faith. Have some faith in Liriano. Fuego, you talked me on him last night. You gotta have some faith.
Oh yeah, that's right. Crap. Sorry.
No, it's cool. I actually went with mostly with Ryu and I think Vargas. So I didn't play much. I had a lot going on today. But anyway, man, that's awesome. So during the show, we're gonna sweat this out. If you see these guys look down or look away from the camera, yes, they're checking the scores. so keep that in mind. You guys,
I will say that Vargas, even though Vargas got beat pretty good, he still ended up with 11 DraftKings points. But like you said, we got guys with -15s and -20s and whatever. So that's not ended up that. He's in my lineup right now, so I could win this satellite with him in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Real quick, I know the Dong Watch calls weren't exactly hot for us last night, but how about we did have a couple pretty good takes. We talked about fading Garrett, about him being the chalk, and we also talked about leveraging against him and playing Milwaukee as a low-owned stack. And I think that I know it's worked out well for you guys. That's exactly that's one of the reasons you guys are sweating it out right now is because you stack Milwaukee. I stack Milwaukee too in different directions, so I'm not doing terrible, but Milwaukee's the only reason I'm not doing terrible. So we did have a couple good takes in there. We were pretty big on fading Garrett there, and that obviously worked out pretty good. I would imagine I'll bet you people played him in cash. I didn't play cash, so I don't know, but I'll bet you people played him in cash so they can get to Coors.
They played him in cash for sure.
Yeah.
They played him.
Yeah, I definitely had him in some GPPs, but like you said, I stacked Milwaukee, and this is the lineup and his team's on steroids or what, man? He's just on fire.
He's for sure on steroids.
He's on something. He's on something.
100%.
Yeah,
Keep riding him until he gets busted.
What's the over-under? What's the over-under until he gets busted? What do you guys think?
Oh, man.
I don't know, but I thought it was funny that day when you recommended him and then you had Ryan Braun listed right underneath. I'm like, uh-huh.
The all juice stack. The juice stack.
It's a pretty good stack, man.
Yeah, the juice squad. I like that.
Yeah, hashtag juice squad.
All right, guys. We got a lot of games to get to. Let's go ahead and dive into these. All right.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're going to skip over the 6 o'clock game just because there's only one game before 7. So we're going to start with the main slate here. We got Kyle Hendricks, the righty from the Chicago Cubs, visiting Garrett Cole, the righty from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Matt, start us off. What are we doing here?
Well, the first thing I want to say is you really have to pay attention to the weather on the slate. There's a tremendous amount of weather problems. So, I mean, these games that have clean weather are going to be really important to kind of cling to. Anyways, for this game, it looks like the weather is going to be nice. It's going to be good for pitchers, 62 degrees, wind blowing in, no rain or anything. So both of these pitchers are in play. Neither has been very good this year. Cole's been okay. So, I mean, my first look at this is I like both of the pitchers, and I'm not too into the hitters. The Cubs are actually fairly cheap, so you could get some decent Cub one-offs here.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Fuego, what you got for us?
Yeah, so I'm not liking the pitchers as much as Matt. You like Garrett Cole?
Yeah, I mean, he's fairly priced on DraftKings. Where to go? 8,500. He looked pretty good in his last start against the Cardinals. I mean, 20.7 DraftKings points, 8 strikeouts. Like I said, the weather's good. The wind's blowing in. It's a great ballpark. The Cubs strike out a decent bit. He faced the Cubs 2 weeks ago, and he was pretty decent. 6 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts. So
Yeah,
I think, as we'll see as we go on, a lot of Kershaw's a jillion. It's going to be hard to pay for him. So these guys that are more reasonably priced may be worth a look.
Right, I hear you. I'm just seeing some guys I think around that price I might prefer, but I could get behind Hendricks, though his upside has not been there this year. But this is a game, another one of these 4.1 implied runs, 3.5 for Pittsburgh, 4.1 for the Cubs. Nothing is standing out to me.
Yeah, it's funny. The Cubs today we saw that they were a stack that I definitely overlooked. Just because I didn't like the ballpark, and I think sometimes we maybe we way too heavy on the ballpark factor, especially with guys with big power. Because the Cubs were one of the stacks that won people tournaments today. They went off, especially I know on FanDuel, the guy had like his whole infield was basically Cubs, and he was the guy winning the tournament. So it's a situation where I wonder, like, people aren't going to make that mistake 2 nights in a row, right? Like, I think there's a core slate, so I guess maybe you can get the Cubs low owned. As far as like stacking this game, but I don't know. I just don't love it. And you're right, Matt. Garrett Cole's been pitching well. Fuego, I get your point. I was thinking the same thing. If you would have asked me this a week ago, because Garrett Cole's strikeout upside has been so limited lately. But like Matt said, he did have a strong outing against the Cardinals. So he was at home, I think, also then. So maybe it's a thing he's got at this ballpark. Maybe he just pitches better at home. But yeah, I think you can make a case either way. I think in tournaments it's okay. Cole's got blow-up potential. He can get hit hard when he's getting hit, and the Cubs are swinging the bat pretty good right now. But at the same time, the Cubs do strike out, and unfortunately Cole has that just enough K upside where you have to consider him. What do you guys think about the bats here? What are we thinking about the bats? Is there anyone you like more? I thought somebody mentioned the Pirates, right?
I didn't mention the Pirates.
I mentioned that I don't like either of them because the implied run total. The total of the game's only 7.6.
Yeah.
The Pirates 3.5, the Cubs 4.1. I think there's lots of other places we can go.
Okay, let's move on.
I just mentioned on DraftKings, the Cubs are the cheapest I've seen them all season. So that's the only reason it might be a decent place for a one-off. I mean, like Schwarber at 4,200, Addison Russell at 3,400. Those are super, super fair prices for them. So like I said, with weather being such a concern across like 4 or 5 games, you might need these cheap punts with guys that are talented guys.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, if the 4.1 could end up being one of the higher ones if some of these other ones are rained out or something.
That's a good point. So pay attention to weather, everybody. All right, let's move on. We got Wai-Yin Chen, the lefty from the Miami Marlins, visiting Vincent Velasquez of the Philadelphia Phillies. Matt, go ahead. What are we doing here?
Well, this is one of the games with major concerns. I mean, it looks like 55 degrees. It says 90% chance of rain. If it doesn't rain, the wind's blowing in 21 miles an hour from center. So you got to like that. I mean, if this game was to play, I would really like Velasquez because he's a pretty good strikeout pitcher. The Marlins strike out a ton, and with that wind blowing in, it helps with his home run problem a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I would have interest in Velasquez. Chen, on the other hand, he throws a no-hitter through 7 innings against the Mariners in his last start, but even still, I'm not a believer in Chen. He doesn't have really strikeout upside, so I wouldn't want to play Chen here. And, with the weather the way it is, I'm not really on any of the bats here.
I hear you. Fuego, what you got?
I agree with Matt. Maybe I throw out Velasquez, but the weather looks bad. And so then I would kind of take the pitchers out of play because if you get delays, et cetera. So, and I'm not on either of the bats. Nothing in this game excites me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything else to add. I mean, Velasquez is the only guy I'd be interested in from either side of this game. And like you said, you can't really play him if there's going to be a delay. So pay attention to weather. I think he's in a good spot. He's cheap enough. On FanDuel, he's 7.5. I think that's cheap enough for his upside that he brings. So if it clears up and they could play, sure, I'll like him. But as long as those winds are blowing in from the outfield, I don't think I want any hitters here either. I will say though, if I do decide to play a stack from this game, it's going to be the Phillies. I don't think I want to attack with the Marlins guys. It's going to be the Phillies bats for sure. All right, let's move it on. We got Erasmo Ramirez, the righty from the Tampa Bay Rays, visiting Wade Miley, the superstar lefty of the Baltimore Orioles. According to his last, if you watch his game logs, you might think that. But go ahead, Matt, start us off.
Well, this is another game with weather problems. It's very similar to the last game, wind blowing in strong from center. A little less chance for rain here, so this game has a better chance of playing. If that's the case, I have to have interest in Wade Miley just because he's shown crazy strikeout upside in his last 2 starts, and he's been pretty solid in all 3 starts this season. So against the Tampa team, we know strikes out a ton. I would definitely have interest in Wade Miley. On the other side, if the winds weren't so strong, I would love to stack Baltimore here against Erasmo, who's not very good. But with the winds blowing in so strong, I would have to curb my enthusiasm on this situation. And, maybe you could go for a Chris Davis one-off or a Machado one-off, but really I'm not excited about a whole lot.
I got you, Fuego. Go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I really want to add is my boy Jonathan Scope. I think he went deep again tonight.
Yep.
He did.
I'm looking at I'm pulling up his game logs here. It's only going back to April 8th, but that's most of the season, right? He doesn't have a 0. He does not have a 0, which is amazing. There's some 3s obviously, and some 6s, but he's never been got a 0 since April 8th. With a 24, 18, 21, 18, 25. He is on fire. And, I haven't got him. I haven't predicted him the last couple he's hit. And I don't know if he's going to hit one tomorrow. But I would just keep him on your radar because he is just smashing the ball.
Yeah, I think that Miley makes perfect sense, like you guys said. However, I would definitely hedge with some race stacks, assuming this game plays. And from what I see, it looks like this game does. It is a weather threat, but it doesn't appear to be as bad as like Philly and New York, which we'll talk about later. So I think there's a decent chance this game will play. And the only reason that I would say, like, listen, Wade is certainly in play. I'm not saying don't play Wade. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, even if you do play him, it wouldn't be a bad idea to throw some race stacks in some different lineups just to cover yourself. Because it kind of reminds me of something similar to the Garrett situation. Now, granted, I'm not comparing Garrett to Miley. Miley's been around. Miley's shown K upside for even last year. It wasn't the greatest, but he did have some strikeout upside. So I'm not taking anything away from Miley. He has proven that he can strike guys out. But yeah, I mean, obviously the Orioles bats are certainly interesting. They get hit. Erasmo's not very good despite his last outing not being that terrible. But yeah, I would throw some race stacks. They've been swinging the bats pretty hard, man, and they got a lot of righties with some pop. Like Souza, Longoria, Weeks. I think Ricky Weeks is in a pretty good spot. He's cheap, so yeah, definitely keep that in mind. You guys want to move on?
Yep.
All right, we got King Felix. Felix Hernandez, a righty from the Seattle Mariners, visiting Jordan Zimmerman of the Detroit Tigers. Matt, go ahead, start us off.
I am checking. This game looks good. Looks clear and good. No weather problems. Gosh, Felix feels expensive he's not very good anymore. Not what he used to be. So I don't think at this price on DraftKings 9,500 I could play him. And then on the other side, Jordan Zimmerman's been pretty garbage. I think he's finished, so I can't play him. So that means I have to like the hitters here, right?
Yes.
So if that's the case, then Seattle is way underpriced for how good that they've been. So I have to have a lot of interest in Seattle. And then a low-owned Tigers stack is never a bad idea, but I certainly like the Mariners side a lot better. So, yeah, I like the Mariners bats here a decent bit.
Okay, Fuego, go ahead.
I completely agree. Zimmerman, I think I was on the ball a little early with that win I had a week ago, 2 weeks ago, when I stacked Minnesota against Zimmerman. He's not been pitching well at all. I love the Seattle bats here. If Segura's back, I think he's probable. I'd play him. I play everyone up to Valencia batting 6, Cano, anybody, doesn't matter, righty, lefty. Cruz, Cruz is always tough. You're not getting like that 50% chance he hits a home run versus a righty as you do like a lefty. But I'll be stacking up this game quite a bit. Haniger, all of them.
They're way too cheap on DraftKings. I mean, 4,300 for Cruz, 4,200. Cano, like you said, what's his name might be back. Segura. And I hope somehow they find a way to keep Taylor Motter in the lineup. If Segura comes back, they find a way to get both of those guys on the field because Motter's been mashing.
Yeah, he's been nasty, man. He's been nasty.
I don't know where they're going to put him, but find a spot.
Yeah, I definitely don't like any of the pitchers here. One time I liked King Felix. That time has passed. and I like both the bats here. I like the Tigers just as much as I like the Seattle. Seattle's red hot, don't get me wrong. And but I think that I'm waiting for Detroit to go up. I know they're old. I know they're not the same team. I know they're missing guys that one key guy that I like a lot, JD Martinez. But I think guys like Kinsler and Castellanos, like eventually those guys are gonna start hitting. You would obviously it stinks not having. Oh wait a minute, Miguel Cabrera's on the DL.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so that's interesting. That's a pretty big bat taken away from the Detroit side.
Yeah, they only have a 4.1 implied run total. It's to where it's not under 4 like some of these, but it's at the lower end.
Yeah, so you know what? I probably wouldn't stack the Tigers, but I wouldn't mind Kinsler or Castellanos as one-offs.
Yeah, these guys are fairly priced for one-offs too. I mean,
right.
Alex Avila draws the start, or McCann at 2,700, Tyler Collins at 2,600. This John Hicks guy he was the one that hit a home run against Minnesota.
Right.
And he's almost min price. So I mean, if you want a couple of real cheap punts, I think it's fine.
Yeah, definitely. And I love me some Nelson Cruz. I know you guys already said you liked him too, but yeah. He's the guy. Cano obviously is in a good spot, but Cruz is the one that it pops out to me, man. I think he goes yard in this one. Maybe you have to remember that for Dong Watch. You guys want to move on?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, another one of those weather games. Luis Severino, the righty from the Yankees, visiting Rick Porcello, the righty from the Boston Red Sox. Matt, tell us about the weather here, and then go ahead and go in.
Well, this game looks. I mean, I would say this game has less than a 5% chance of playing. I mean, 47 degrees, 99% chance of rain, and 20 miles an hour in from center.
The players are probably hoping it don't play. That sounds nasty.
Yeah. I mean, normally I never like to play Porcello because I just feel like he doesn't have the upside I want for his price. I say that every time. And then, Severino's been super chalk his last 2 starts, and he's delivered. He's been awesome. So I would certainly have interest here if this game was to play, but I doubt that it would. And then that being said, I wouldn't be on many of the bats here because Porcello's decent, obviously, and Severino's been great. So I wouldn't want any of the bats.
I got you. Fuego, what you got for us?
Yeah, I don't think they're playing this game. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a waste of my time. It's rain, wind, 80%, 90%, 90, 100% chance at 8 p.m. 100%. Yeah. I don't see – there's no one that's standing out to me anyway that I would say, oh, if this game plays, play this person. So, yeah, that's what I got.
Even if it plays, it's going to be super nasty, and I just don't see a need, even if this game does play, to go there. So let's just go move on.
Yeah.
All right. Julio Teheran. Yeah. All right, Julio Teheran of the Atlanta Braves visiting Robert Gsellman of the New York Mets. Once again, looks like the whole Northeast is under massive rain apparently tomorrow, Matt, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, if this game was to play, I would have a lot of interest in Gesellman because the Braves stink and he's really cheap, and I think there is some upside in there, even though he hasn't necessarily shown it yet this season. So I would have interest in Gesellman. Teheran he feels too expensive for me at 10,000. I probably couldn't do that.
He's 10,000 on DraftKings.
Yeah, 10,000.
Holy.
And then in the hitters department, I would love Freddie Freeman as a one-off. He's way too cheap, 4,300. And then some of the Mets lefty power bats, I would have interest in too. Your Jay Bruce's and Dudas and Confortos and those types. I would have interest in against Teheran, who struggles against lefties.
Interesting. Fuego, what you got for us?
If this game plays, which I don't think it will either, I like both pitchers. I like the Mets pitcher, Gesellman, better. Not really on too many of the hitters. It's got a super low. Braves are only implied run totals 3.3 and the Mets 3.8. I think that could be the two. Maybe not, but there's a lot of low implied run total. Maybe that's the weather. Maybe the weather's taking that into effect.
I think you're right.
Yeah, but there's just other places to go. So if for some reason they got a big win and this clears, I would be interested in the pitchers, but that's about it.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Teheran typically does pretty well against the Mets, usually. Gsellman, I'm not really big on him. He's not bad, don't get me wrong. I don't see a lot of upside with him, to be honest. So I'm not really interested in this game regardless. And with that weather, again, if these games play, okay, they play. The weather still could probably be nasty, and that's not good for baseball. So even if the game plays, I still don't want really anybody from this game. Let's move on. All right, Scott Feldman of the Cincinnati Reds visiting Zach Davies of the Milwaukee Brewers. Go ahead, Matt. What we got?
Now we're talking. We know this game's going to play because it's in a dome.
Yes.
We know both these pitchers faced these teams last week, and both of them did not fare well.
Right.
Both these offenses, I think, are really good this season. They've both been swinging the bats well, so I really like the bats on both sides. Like we said, we know Eric Thames is on steroids, and he's going to hit another home run tomorrow, so you probably should play him again. And then, I love all the bats in this game.
All right, Fuego, go ahead.
Agreed. Now, exactly what Matt said. We have 4.4 and 4.7. We've got a 9.1 total. Besides Colorado, this might be this and the next game we're talking about are the highest run totals on the board. Maybe one more, but when I look at run totals, I you notice on the pod I talk about implied run totals. I look at per team. I don't really look at the totals.
Right.
So it can be deceiving. And some people say, oh, well, this is total is this total is that. Well, it doesn't matter what the total is. What are the teams? So both of these are 4.4 and 4.7, which means Vegas thinks they're going to score a lot of runs. I tend to lean on the side of Vegas most times, and so I do like the hitters here. And if I do like the hitters, naturally, I do not like the pitchers.
Naturally.
Yeah,
the pitchers here suck.
I take that back. That's not naturally. You could like a pitcher in a certain case when you hedge, but I just said.
No, I mean, okay, maybe because there's no pitchers, other than Kershaw, you're struggling for your second options. Okay, maybe you can consider Feldman and Davies, but personally, I don't think either of them are that good. It's a hitter's ballpark. I think Fuego was being kind. But yeah, the hitters. I love the hitters here. Yeah, don't play the pitchers. It's not a great pitching slate, but there are better options than these guys. And
there's a decent one.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love the Cincinnati bats, especially. They've been just as hot as the Brewers, but today Thames hit 2 home runs. So the Brewers are going to get the attention. At least he is. And I'm not telling you to fade the guy. I'm not telling you to fade. No. I'm not going to tell you to fade the guy. But don't forget about Votto, because a lot of people are going to play Thames, and if Thames doesn't go off, one of these first basemen are going to have a huge game. So play your Thames, but then also play some Votto, because one of these guys are going to go off, because both these pitchers are bad, and they're both in pretty good spots. I love Duval. Duval stands out to me a lot. I love Duval. 3,300 on FanDuel, pretty good price. He actually has a higher ISO versus righties. Hitter's ballpark, I'm loving it. You guys want to move on?
Let's move on.
All right, Irvin Santana of the Minnesota Twins visiting Andrew Cashner. Finally, some good, not just okay, but some good outdoor weather. Matt, tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a nice warm day in Texas, 85 degrees, but the wind does look like it's going to be blowing in at 21 miles an hour, which could be a factor. It's kind of an interesting game. You know, Irvin Santana has been really good this season. I've talked about before how I'm not necessarily a believer, but his price is really fair at 7,100. I could go both here. I could have interest in Irvin and play him, and I could like the Texas bats, especially because so many of their power hitters are lefties. So I like Irvin a little bit. I like the Texas lefties a little bit. And then on the other side, you can't play Andrew Cashner. He stinks. He has control issues. He has home run issues. Don't play Cashner. On the other side, I do like Minnesota's bats here. I do like, Dozier and Sano and Grossman. And they got this Kenny Vargas guy back up who's got big power. Yeah. So I have a decent amount of interest in Minnesota.
Okay, Fuego, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm about to eat my words here because, just like Matt said, this is one where I like the Texas bats, but I could also roll out Santana as well. So this may be it. If you're doing a couple lineups, hedge, have Santana one, Texas bats the other. Because Matt said he's not pitching bad, and this it seems like we don't have a lot of great pitchers again. And I've been riding the Minnesota bats. I like the Minnesota bats again. Cashner was not very good, as Matt said. And I could roll them out for sure. Absolutely.
I definitely respect Santana as a player. But for me, it's not that I don't think he's good. I think that the spot's not so great for him. He does struggle a little bit more against lefties. Not saying he's terrible because he is a good pitcher. He's got some nasty sliders, nasty. But the wind is going to have a lot to do with whether or not I think he's in play. If the wind continues to blow in at almost 20 miles an hour, sure. If that wind changes, it's pretty hot. It's supposed to be almost 90 degrees tomorrow here. So if the wind changes for any reason or it blows out instead, I'm going to be stacking the bats in both this game. To be honest, I'll probably try it anyway, just as this is the only true the Milwaukee and obviously the Reds game. It seems like your Coors alternatives, or at least some of them. I don't know what other games. I didn't really look too far ahead, but yeah, I like the bats on both sides, and because of that, it's going to be hard for me to like a pitcher from any of these four games. And unfortunately, Santana's kind of the collateral damage of that. I do think he's decent. It's just he has K upside, but I don't think the Rangers strike out all that much. And like you said, Matt, they got a lot of powerful lefties that don't strike out all that much. So I hear you guys with Santana. I definitely do. I respect the call because I respect the player, and especially this year. He's having some monster games this year. He's having a great season so far. But I like the Texas bats too much. And if the wind blows in, I just don't see the K upside basically against Texas. But you guys want to add anything, or should we move on?
No, makes sense to me.
Yeah, and just to add that 4.6 runs for Minnesota and 4.5 for Texas are two of the highest outside of Colorado. So definitely like the bat.
Great point, Fuego. All right, we got Danny Duffy, the lefty from the Kansas City Royals, visiting Dylan Covey of the White Sox, Chicago White Sox. Go ahead, Matt, start us off.
Well, as much as I would like to play Dylan Covey because the Royals have been the worst offense in baseball this year, literally they're dead last in run scored, but it doesn't look like he has any K upside, so you can't play him. The White Sox did come alive today. They ate up Vargas and the Royals bullpen especially. But Duffy's a lot better than Vargas, even though Vargas has been good this year. So I do have interest in Duffy. The White Sox have been cold. It is going to be a cold night. It does look like the wind's blowing in here again. So Duffy's price does feel a bit too much for me. I think it's a lot fairer on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, I'm going to have a hard time paying this price. But I certainly think he's in play. On the other side, on the Royals, I have talked about how bad they've been. The only hitter I would have interest, and I've mentioned it almost every day, is Mike Moustakas at 3,200 is just way, way, way too cheap.
Definitely. Fuego, go ahead.
I like Duffy. I don't know if he's been pitching outstanding, but if you look at his game logs this year, 43, 34, 46, 41 on FanDuel, good enough for me. I mean, no duds in there. He's gone 6, 7, 7, 7 innings. He hasn't gone less than 6, which means he's getting those quality starts, which you now get points for on FanDuel. So he's getting the quality starts. If his walks could go down just a little bit and his strikeouts could go up just a little bit, you're talking 50-point games. So I'm fine rolling Duffy out there, no doubt. And I'm not too interested in any of the bats. These guys have a low, definitely not the Sox. Maybe someone from the Royals here or there, but not too much interest.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on the bats. I don't like the bats, and I like Duffy a lot. Obviously, it's not really a hot take, but he's probably my second favorite pitcher, below Kershaw. Obviously, I know he's a lefty. I know the White Sox are right-handed dominant, and I saw what the White Sox did to Vargas today. But we kind of been saying that Vargas is going to regress eventually, and I'm not saying that he's regressing for the season now. We could see him come out next time he starts and strike out another 12 people or whatever. But yeah, I think we would both agree Duffy's got nastier stuff overall, and it's just a more dominant pitcher than Vargas. So we know the White Sox have been striking out a lot this year. So yeah, I love Duffy tomorrow. I don't care if it's all righties, and I don't like the bats either. Let's move on. Yep. Marco Estrada, the righty from the Toronto Blue Jays, visiting Michael Wacha of the St. Louis Cardinals. Certainly an interesting matchup for sure. Matt, go ahead.
I really like both pitchers in this game. I like Wacha going against an ice-cold Toronto team that's losing the DH and coming into the National League. So I like Wacha a lot, and he's super fair price, 6,800 on DraftKings. At first glance, I would assume that he's going to be the chalk of the day. And then on the other side, Estrada, I watched his whole last start, and he looked really good. He was really good the start before against Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore and Boston back-to-back, 27 DraftKings points, 24.5 DraftKings points, and I don't have a lot of respect for the Cardinals lineup. And it's a fairly right-handed lineup, too, so I expect Estrada to do well. So having said all of that, I'm not too interested in many of the bats. If you wanted a Dexter Fowler one-off or a Matt Carpenter one-off, I would be fine with that. They're both reasonably priced.
Okay, go ahead, Fuego.
I am in agreement again. I like Wacha. He's pitched no less than 6 innings each time out. I'm Estrada. I mean, he's been getting it done. He strikes out. He's getting the strikeouts for sure. He hasn't allowed a home run the last 2 games out. He gave up 3 to Tampa Bay, I think, a few weeks ago. But besides that, that's the only time he's allowed a home run a game in the 4 games. And he's striking batters out, which we love. We love the strikeouts. And as Matt said, St. Louis batters don't scare me right now.
Yeah, but these are 2 teams that are seriously cold. And the pitchers are decent. They're not elite pitchers, but they're certainly decent. I think Matt has a great point with Wacha probably being the chalk because he's been playing so well. And obviously it's a Coors slate with a couple of pitchers that aren't that great. So I mean, he makes a great point. But I'm not saying, again, now one thing I want to clarify. When we say a play is chalk, we're not necessarily saying to fade it. Sometimes you can play the chalk and differentiate elsewhere. We're just mentioning, just so you know, that it's probably going to be popular. With that said, I think Wacha, I don't think there's a reason not to play Wacha. I think that there's other guys I like. There's obviously Kershaw. I might try to figure out a way to play Kershaw or Duffy or something like that. But yeah, definitely in play. You guys want to move on?
Yeah, our boys just got a double steal. I don't know if you have Pollock in your good lineup, Fuego, but him and Peralta just double steal. So that's exciting.
Nice. And I don't think he's an out. I have Owings, Lamb, Drury.
Well, Owings
is up now.
Yeah, 2 on and no out.
Come on, baby.
Yeah. At the same time that Liriano's imploding and about to be done for the day.
Yeah, that's fine though. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. It's all good. It's all good.
Golden. Come on, baby.
All right. Let's see. We got Joe Ross of the Washington Nationals visiting German Marquez of the Colorado Rockies. It looks like we could be in for some nasty weather again here. Go ahead, Matt. What do we got?
Well, this is going to be the key game to figure out the weather because all those other games we mentioned before, I would say, are all doubtful to play. This game is much more, seems like 50-50. And if it does play, it is going to be nasty. It's going to be in the 40s. The wind is going to be blowing, looks like across the field. So it's not going to be much fun if it does play, but it's Coors Field. Both the pitchers, I mean, I've never even heard of German Marquez before. I don't know if you guys have. And then
I think he's been on the Rockies for a little while. I think as a reliever, I think he spent some time. Or unless I'm thinking of a different. The name German sounds familiar. I don't know. I could be thinking of.
Yeah, I don't see any numbers on him, at least on the DraftKings thing. I'll pull him up on FanGraphs when Fuego talks, but. Joe Ross isn't the worst, but he's not awesome or anything. So certainly not the pitchers. If this game plays, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard not knowing, because I feel like this is going to be a game when lock comes that you're not going to know, what to do. So I really at this point don't know what to say other than, the batters are in a great spot if it was a decent day, but it doesn't look like it will be. So I'm a little bit at a loss on this particular game at this point of the night.
Interesting. Go ahead, Fuego.
Yeah, so I'm seeing less than 50% chance of rain, unless we're looking at something different. This game's in Denver, right?
Yeah. I mean, I see 37%, 42, 61 the game, 53. But I'm saying it's going to be really cold too. And Colorado's kind of different. Like they get a lot of random thunderstorm type stuff.
Right,
so
for sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not going to be downpours, etc., or if it's more of a start on and off, I wouldn't be afraid to go back to the hitters. Zimmerman again, or pretty much any of them. It is Colorado, and obviously no real use in the pitchers. These aren't the kind of pitchers you want to use in Colorado to be sneaky. And I'd say if it doesn't look like it's going to get really, really rained out, don't be afraid to go there, because maybe other people will, and this could be the time you could get Colorado for a little bit lower ownership.
Yeah, I'm looking at Marquez. He did start 3 games in the majors last season, and it looks like 5.23 ERA, 15% strikeout rate, 30% hard contact. I mean, nothing that's out of the ordinary.
Yeah, definitely don't like the pitchers, just because there's other pitchers that I think are in better spots. And you know what, Matt, one thing that you mentioned is 40 degrees is pretty cold, and I think that could have something to do with the ball flying out. And because remember, I think one thing that we have to keep in mind is the dimensions of Coors it's actually a big field. There's a lot of doubles that get hit there too. So I think when the weather's not right or ideal, I think that could really affect the ball here. And I think people are going to see Joe Ross and Marquez, and they saw today that Coors started off slow, but it ended up getting there. I think it hit 9, 4 to 5. It was more than that. What was it, 6 to 4 or something like that? So. I'm not on the pitchers, and to be honest, I think this could be a situation where I may find myself, if the weather doesn't improve, at least get a little warmer. 40 degrees is pretty cold. So if it's going to be 40 degrees, we just talked about Texas where it's going to be hot. The wind may be blowing in, but it's going to be hot. That's a lot better than cold. And the wind looks like it might be blowing in Colorado anyway. So I don't know. This might be a slate where I have to strongly consider, even when I fade Coors, to me fading Coors means I'll play him in 1 or 2 lineups, but most of my lineups don't have him. But it might be a situation where I literally might just try to completely fade them. I'm not recommending it necessarily, but I might go there just because I'm a big believer in weather. I think that's a big edge you could have there. And the weather here is nasty. It really is. Maybe a couple one-offs just to give you some exposure. But I don't think I'm gonna go full stack on either side, to be honest. What do you guys think about that?
And the pricing on the national side, like I would definitely like the Nationals more, but the pricing is just absurd. I mean, $6,100 for Bryce Harper, $5,500 for Murphy, $5,300 for Eaton, and down the line.
Right.
So that just makes it really tough to swallow. The Rockies are a bit more fair, but at first glance, and that's why I said I'm kind of at a loss for this game. At first glance, I think I feel like fading this game.
Yeah, it feels weird. But like Fuego said, if you got to feel it out. If everybody's going to fade it, if everybody's thinking like, yeah, I think I'm going to fade it, then yeah, that's the time you want to hop on. You get Coors at low ownership, that's the Coors you want.
Yep.
All right, you guys want to move on?
Yep.
All right. Clayton Richard, the lefty from the San Diego Padres, visiting Patrick Corbin, the lefty from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, this is another spot where I'm going to love Arizona, similar to today, where Chacin shut down Arizona and San Diego last week. Richard did the same thing to the Diamondbacks, but that was in San Diego, and this is in Arizona, and they're, other than Coors Field, there can't be a much more dramatic park shift. So I really do like the Diamondbacks here, and they're fairly priced. And then on the other side, I know you told me you really like San Diego in this spot against Corbin. I actually have some interest in Corbin. I mean, 5,000 on DraftKings, you could do a lot with that sort of salary with your second pitcher. So I have some interest in 5,000 on DraftKings.
Corbin?
Yeah.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I would have some interest in Corbin, but if you wanted to play some of these cheapy righty San Diego bats, I'm probably going to do that too. I mean, I like Margot and Renfroe, and then your boy, the catcher Austin Hedges, has been ripping the ball, so I like him too.
All right, Fuego, what you got?
I really like Will Myers in this spot too. He might be one of my favorite first basemen on the slate.
Yeah, he just too.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah.
I hope that guy behind me doesn't have him. I'm only up by 7 points. I'm only up by 7 points right now. He's coming.
The sweat is real.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit, he did have him. That's why he's only behind me by 7. That's why. He's got Hedges, Myers, Solarte, and he's also got the Arizona stack that I have. Oh boy. Anyway, so
You're gonna pull this out, bro. You're gonna pull this out, bro.
I like the hitters here for Arizona a ton. They have a 5.3 implied run total, which is the most on the slate, besides the Rockies and Nats in Colorado. So load up on the Arizona bats again. Owings hit a grand slam tonight. Always love Goldschmidt, Pollock. All of them. I'm fine, and I like the San Diego bats. I think. Maybe a little more than Matt even does. I don't mind them at all in this spot. They got a 4.3, which isn't a ton, but on this slate, it's towards the middle to the top. I might even have a game stack, but I don't know. I just really like the Arizona bats. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, man, I could dig a game stack. And you know what, Matt? The reason that I was against Patrick Corbin when we spoke earlier is because on FanDuel he's 7-8. I didn't know he was 5K on DraftKings. At 5K, I certainly understand taking a shot. I mean, I get that. But because he's 7-8 on FanDuel, there's no way I would play him at 7-8. And I like a game stack here. Obviously we like Arizona bats that are red hot. I like both bats here, man. And you want to get away from Coors. I think between here, the Reds, Milwaukee, and of course, what was it, the Texas, the Ranger game. You got plenty. In Minnesota, you got plenty of pivots. I think so. So here's the thing. I think like we mentioned, it's gonna come down to feel out the ownership, feel out the weather. Because I think as some weather situations get worse, it might narrow the situation down. So a lot to pay attention to tomorrow for sure. Let's move on. We got Jesse Hahn of the Oakland Athletics visiting J.C. Ramirez of the Los Angeles Angels.
Of Anaheim.
There we go, man. Thank you, man. All right, go ahead.
It's funny. I actually, this is another game where you look at the pitchers and you'd be like, oh, no way I'm playing either of these guys. But actually, I mean, 4,200 for J.C. Ramirez, 5,500 for Jesse Hahn. If I'm going to want to play Kershaw, who's in the next game, and then use one of these cheapy guys or Corbin, to fit in the big bats, that's what I'm going to do. Ramirez has been pretty decent. He was especially decent in his last start against Houston. 5 innings, 9 strikeouts, almost 20 DraftKings points. And Oakland is not a lineup that scares me. We know that we love Angels Stadium for pitching. And then Jesse Hahn on the other side, I love every pitcher against the Angels. I'm just going to play them all every day because other than Trout, the Angels just stink.
As long as they don't walk people, right?
Yeah, as long as they don't do Liriano and walk everybody. But they actually just got out of a bases-loaded jam, so it saved Liriano. And then at the same time, Austin Hedges hit a home run for you. So anyways, I could certainly play Mike Trout as a one-off. I could certainly play Chris Davis as a one-off from this game. But other than that, I'm not real excited about anything.
Okay, go ahead, Fuego.
Yeah, I would be on FanDuel much more interested in Ramirez than Hahn. Ramirez is 5,600 compared to Hahn 74. But at 56, geez, he's like the second lowest pitcher on FanDuel, and I haven't looked at the bats prices. Usually don't need to go that low on FanDuel, but if you were loading up on bats, I could see it doing that, especially on a slate where there's no stud pitching. And he's had some good games of recent. So it's not my favorite pitcher on the slate, but I wouldn't blame you if you did it. Let's put it that way. And besides that, I don't really have much interest in, some of the Angel bats, Shore, Trout, all the big boys normally. But that's about it.
Yeah, Hahn looks like he's in a decent spot against the Angels. But you know what's strange is like we talked about all these other games that we liked, and this game the run projections aren't too bad even compared to them. So I think Matt makes a great point about if you want to be different, if you're looking for contrarian options that are cheap, this is the game you can get that from and be able to fit Kershaw in. So I think that's just food for thought.
Yeah, the Angels do have a 4.6 implied run total, which is one of the highest on the slate. So definitely, if you want to go after the Angel bats and you like to follow Vegas, they would be who I would go after.
Right. And that's just really from a game theory perspective. It's not that I don't see anything here in the matchups. There's no hitters that I particularly love. Obviously, Chris Davis is obviously always a guy that you want to. Mike Trout, we mentioned these guys, so you know about those guys. But yeah, don't ignore this game completely because it is a higher total. Now, yeah, you can get singled to death, and that would suck if everybody else is hitting home runs. But if you're looking for specifically low ownership, and like for instance, if the weather's bad in Coors, then forget about it. All those other games we talked about, their ownership is going to go up. The Rangers, Milwaukee, they're all going to go up because Coors is the reason we get those other plays so low owned. So if we don't get them low owned because the weather gets nasty or whatever reason, then yeah, you might have to look at to differentiate yourself. You might, and you know what? Instead, I'm going to pay up for pitcher, and then I'm just going to shove these cheap bats from this crappy game in because it's got a decent run total. But I don't. Apparently, Coors should still be able to go off. So as long as it goes off, I think it should still be chalk. And then I don't think you have to come here for sure. You guys want to move on?
I do want to point out real quick, I was a little bit lazy in my analysis because I didn't look all the way through the DraftKings pricing. A lot of these A's batters are like free. Yeah. So I would check to see if some of them get good lineup spots. Like they just called this Jeff Decker up. If he ends up hitting, towards the top of the lineup at min price, or Matt Joyce has been up at the top a few times, 2,300. Jed Lowry or Yonder Alonso or Stephen Voigt, they're all under 3,000. So if for salary relief, if you need to go here, I wouldn't mind it at all.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Matt, if you want to pay up for Kershaw, not a lot of people will pay up for Kershaw on a Coors slate. They prefer to just find a cheaper pitcher and go with Coors guys, and I get it. But this could be a slate. If you planned on fading Coors anyway, why not play Kershaw, pay up, have a different lineup construction altogether, and throw some of these A's and Angel bats in because, like you said, these guys are basically free. I mean, these are power guys. Vogt, Joyce, these are guys that can hit home runs. Decker, like you said, they can do it. They don't do it often, but they can do it. So if you want to be different, I think this is a game you have to kind of consider, even though it's pretty ugly. You guys want to move on?
Yeah.
Last game of the night, we got Clayton Kershaw, the lefty from the Los Angeles Dodgers, visiting Ty. Is it Blotch or Blotch? Lefty of the San Francisco Giants. Go ahead, Matt.
I've never heard of Blotch before. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything I can learn from him real quick. And then
he pitched eight innings in October and put up 54 FanDuel points.
What?
Holy smokes.
Yeah, but the game before that, he put up 12 FanDuel points. He pitched 2 games in the end of September and October last year, put up 12 FanDuel points.
Apparently he's pitched in 7 games this season as a reliever.
All in relief. Yeah.
But there's better options because they're not going to let this guy go very long anyways. I mean, we know the Dodgers aren't good against lefties, but how long is he going to pitch? 4 innings? Yeah. Well, so don't play him.
Yeah.
Don't play him. Kershaw, on the other hand, is amazing. If he's so expensive, but if I was playing cash, I would still certainly play Kershaw, and I will find ways to have Kershaw lineups tomorrow. And I love him. He's amazing, and the Giants don't scare me. I was just looking at BVP because I thought, well, maybe the Giants have hit him good, but they haven't. I mean, Brandon Belt 3 for 51, Brandon Crawford 4 for 29. Buster Posey's hitting 233 off from Hunter Pence 6 for 66. So
what do you think? What do you think the Giants' implied run total is?
2.8.
Close, 2.7.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, obviously no Giants.
That's good.
On the Dodgers side, if you wanted to play, Puig or Turner or Grandal, they're all cheap, so you could do that as a one-off.
Okay, go ahead, Fuego.
Yeah, the Dodger bats are one of those where I don't really like the pitcher they're facing, but I'm not really loving the bats either. There's just better places to go. Like Matt said, maybe one-off here or there. Kershaw, if you throw out the game he played in Colorado, he scored 52, 55, 56 FanDuel points. Fire up Kershaw for sure if you've got the money for it. Definitely easier to do on FanDuel at 12.7. He's still 3,000 more than Duffy, who's the second most expensive. But it's because of that ceiling. The 55 points, 50-some points, basically every game outside of Coors so far. He will be high owned, but if you like your if you want a lot of points from your pitcher, you can load up, maneuver the lineup some way. Then I would put him in there.
Yeah, I certainly like Kershaw. I think especially for cash, you kind of always have to go with him no matter what. In tournaments, I'm actually, honestly, to be honest, the guy that, assuming the game plays and the weather lightens up, I think Miley might be the chalk, to be honest with you, in tournaments. He's going up against the Rays. He's coming off a monster game. He's been playing great. I wouldn't be surprised if he was. Well, I don't know if he's going to be the most popular, but I think he's going to be popular. I honestly, Fuego, I don't know if Kershaw's going to be all that popular in tournaments. I would think he would be, but there's a Coors slate. So, and there's a Coors slate with a guy pitching against the Nationals that nobody's heard of. So I wonder. I mean, you could be right. Don't get me wrong. You could definitely be right. If people decide to fade Coors, then yeah, they're going to go to Kershaw. But if people decide to play Coors, then they probably can't go to Kershaw because they're going to want to, game stack. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I just, anytime you have a big name pitcher on a slate and not many other big name pitchers, they're going to be popular. That's just the way I feel. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a couple other ones, or if, and I don't know, I haven't paid much attention to Coors ownership so far this year. But I can see you have a great point there. If people don't want to do it, you would have to get exposure at the lower end of the field. But hey, if you want to fade it, 50 points. I just see that 50 points. That's a lot of points.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So real quick, before we play the Dong Watch game, let's talk a little bit of game theory here. Matt, let me start with you. What direction, like when you get at this slate, what are you thinking? What chalks are like? Do you think the Rockies are going to be chalk? I mean, the Coors game is going to be chalk. Do you think Kershaw? Like what do you think?
I mean, at first glance, I don't think that the Coors game is necessarily going to be chalk. I would think if it plays clean, it feels to me like it'll be equal to Cincinnati and Milwaukee to Arizona. They'll all kind of be about the same. Like the good hitters will all be 15 to 20%, and the lesser hitters in the lineup will be 8 to 10%, 5%, depending on the guy. So at this moment in time, I think that all those kind of stacks will be similar. I think a stack like Seattle would be super contrarian. It's kind of my take at this point.
Yeah, I could see that. You know what? Let's transition there. What are your guys'? We'll start with you, Fuego. What are your favorite stacks? You think? Give me like a top four, your top four favorite stacks. Like matter of fact, give me a stack that you think is more obvious, and then I want you to give me maybe a stack or two that may be more sneaky.
Well, obvious to me is the Arizona stack if you're not going outside of Coors, just because the implied runs. I know a lot of people look at that, and I kind of like Seattle. Maybe that'll go. It's a West Coast. No, it's at Detroit, but still Seattle's a West Coast team, and maybe they go a little under-owned and in a high total against Zimmerman. I would like that. I like that.
Okay. Matt, what about you? Are there any stacks that stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Cincinnati, Milwaukee, Arizona are my three favorites, and then Seattle is my contrarian that I like.
Okay.
Those are the four that stand out to me outside of Coors.
I got you. I'm with you. I do like those teams. I think I do like Seattle with you. I definitely like Seattle. I think there's some interest there. It's ugly, but I think that the Padres, I know that they're a team that people don't like the Roger, but I think they're and to be honest, my favorite sneaky stack, obviously the Reds in Milwaukee is like that's the nuts when you first look at it, right? Like that's the one you look at and it's like, oh yeah. And then after that, you look at least the Twins side against Cashner. I do like the Rangers a lot. I like the Rangers a lot. I mean, I think Irvin Santana, in my opinion, and FanDuel seems to agree with me based off the price differences. Irvin Santana is supposedly a better pitcher than Cashner. Yet the line from Vegas, they're almost at a pick 'em. So I think Vegas is taking a stance here. I think they think that Texas might
Well,
do
Texas is a way better team. They have
Correct.
a better lineup, a better bullpen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But I also think that looking at in terms of the pitchers, I think there's a pretty big disparity here. Cashner against Santana. I feel like for the naked eye, and let me ask you a question. If I said even money, who you want? Irvin Santana against Cashner. I think most people would say, give me the Twins and Irvin Santana. I think most people would say that's because people don't like Cashner. You know what I mean? So I think both of those teams are interesting. And the one that I think is really sneaky, and I want to hear your guys' opinions on this one specifically. The Rays. I like the Rays. What do you guys think?
The weather just really bothers me there. Not only the rain, but the wind. You know what I mean? Like, let's see what it says.
You seem to like the Rays a lot, TK.
Yeah, I do. I don't know. They kind of stand out to me. I don't think they'll be too popular. But you know what? I'm going to tell you guys one thing that I'm really big on. What's that?
Didn't you say you like Wade Miley?
No. I was saying that if you play Wade Miley, throw in some Ray stacks just in case as a hedge. So I did say that. And listen, Miley is in play. I'm not saying I don't like Miley.
But it's Wade Miley, so he's gonna keep it up. That's the point.
Yeah. It's Wade Miley. Yeah. So it's he's just gonna strike everybody out anyway. But I think they could be sneaky just because I think that I think people might finally start to respect Miley, and I think for a guy like him, when people start to respect the guy, that's typically when you want to go against him. You know what I mean?
If this game was in Tampa, I would agree with you 100%. But
right.
The wind blowing in and it being in the 50s it's tough for me to get on board.
I'll tell you what I'm big on, and this is more of a strategy thing, and I'd love to hear your opinions before we play the game and get out of here. I'm big on line movement. I like to watch the lines. I like to try to figure out what the consensus is on. What percentage is the public on? And when I see a line move the other way, I get very interested in the team. So I'm going to watch this line. Right now it's Miley minus 153. If this line, I know for a fact people are going to pick Baltimore in this spot. They're not going to pick Erasmo Ramirez. Nobody's going to put their money behind him. So if this line goes backwards, if we see Baltimore all of a sudden they're only 130 or they're only 120, I'm going to like the Rays a lot more then. How do you guys feel about Vegas? Like, do you guys look at Vegas lines and line movement and adjust? I'm big on line movement, whether it's over and unders, whether it's and not just regular line movement, but like a strong line movement. You know what I mean? What do you guys think about that?
Well, there's certainly something to that, especially if you're actually betting on the games. I mean, following the sharp money is always smart.
Right.
So, I mean, putting your money behind teams that sharp bettors are betting on is always a good idea.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think, Fuego?
Yeah, I'm not as much into it as probably maybe I should be. I'm more of a matchups kind of guy, and is the line moving? Why is the line moving? Yeah, if you can tell me why it's moving particularly, not just that money's going to that side because that team thinks they're going to win, because that's what it can move sometimes. So if I still think Goldschmidt's in a good matchup or somebody's still in a good matchup because the line moves isn't going to change my opinion on that.
No. That's certainly a great take as far as like in one-off situations, right? Because listen, okay, maybe the Diamondbacks won't win, but Goldschmidt can still hit a home run. So yeah, certainly,
right.
That's a great point. But what I'm saying is, if I see a team get blasted as favorites and I see the over and under go up or at least stay high,
right,
it makes me like a stack of that team more. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
All right, guys, let's play some dog. Yeah, no, I'm with you. And like, listen, Fuego, you play the players you like, and I think that's for every DFS player. The rule of thumb: play the players you like. It's just like
Yes. Exactly. Because if you win, and if you lose, you want to play with the ones at least you like them.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, exactly. And you won't feel so dumb when if you pick some ugly players that don't do well. All right, let's play some Dong Watch here. Matt, we're gonna have you go first this time. What you got for us?
Eric Thames.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was gonna do.
I don't blame
I'm
you.
going the all steroid team today.
There we go. All right, Fuego, go ahead.
Then I'll take his partner in crime, Ryan Braun.
Oh, sticking with the Brewers. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna go with Nelson Cruz as my first one, and give me Nelson Cruz and give me Joey Votto, and then back to Fuego.
Will Myers.
Oh, that's a good one.
I will take Mike Trout.
Of course.
Yep, of course. And let me do something a little off the board.
It's a smart play because he's going to hit a home run every 3 days, so you may as well take it.
That's right. And then give me Adam Duvall.
Oh, I love that one.
Because I knew you were gonna.
I love that one. That's such a great call. All right, Fuego.
I'm going to go Goldschmidt.
All right, I like it. Goldschmidt. And I think for me, I'm gonna go with Odor. See if Odor. He let me down big today, but I think he let a lot of people down. So I'm gonna hope he bounces back. All right, that's gonna do it for the WiseTake DFS podcast. Always a pleasure being on with Fuego and Matt. Those are my boys right there. Always have a good time going on there, and a certain comfort level. And I think you could tell in the show. I think the chemistry is there. So it's always fun. Also, don't forget you can check these guys out on Daily Roto Sharks. Matt Amon, he writes the Matt's Stacks articles. He goes over some of his favorite stacks and his opinion on certain stacks. He also recommends some pitchers for you too. And of course, Fuego, you'll catch him writing some of the NBA playoff stuff over there as well. I know you guys love Fuego's NBA takes, so you're gonna want to pay attention to that. And Fuego, are you still doing the MLB value articles, or have you switched over to basketball for now?
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of go back and forth, maybe. We'll see. I'll surprise people.
I can dig it. I'll tell you what, guys, on a side note, one thing I'm definitely going to do before I set my lineups is I'm going to check out the Daily Roto Sharks baseball cheat sheets, the MLB cheat sheets. I like to see what it has to say. They have all the statistics there. They remind me of some of the things maybe I overlooked. And they have a rating system, and I'm very curious to see what pitchers. Obviously, I would imagine Kershaw is going to be at the top, but I'm very curious as far as tournaments go to see what pitchers rank the highest after that. So definitely get a copy of your cheat sheets. Don't waste any time. Subscribe. It's worth it. I promise you. Click on the link in the description below, help out the pod, and go ahead and sign up for Daily Roto Sharks and get access to your cheat sheets now. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button. It means a lot to us. Subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow, man. We're trying to get as big as we can. We're trying to help you guys win money and have some fun in the process. If you're listening on Podbean, give us a follow. If you're listening on iTunes, subscribe to the channel. Rate us, review us, bump us up those rankings. Anyway, guys, for Matt, for Fuego, and for myself, as always, good luck.
Peace.